Hey guys, so if you've watched any of the other videos, you probably know by now that I'm a really big advocate of soft tissue work. And it was brought to my attention that not everybody knows what soft tissue is or means. And so a simple definition is soft tissue is muscle, tendons, or ligaments. And we must know that there's also this thing called fascia, which is what surrounds our muscles and it kind of holds it in place. So we go skin, then fascia, then muscles, and ligaments and tendons, okay? Most people think chiropractors only help with back and neck, okay? One, right there alone, there's muscles, ligaments, and tendons in our neck and back. But we also must know that our big muscles are also out in our extremities as well, our arms, legs, feet, hips, etc. So the next thing is I am a full body provider for active release techniques. This is where all my background has come on understanding how to treat soft tissue. And this is just kind of my foundation that I use in the office. In there, they talk about the Cumulative Injury Cycle. So this is a cycle of exactly what it says. Injury that most people don't understand. It kind of just goes round and round. And then we fall in this spiral, downward spiral of pain and injury, and we don't understand why we ache and why we feel tension all the time. I'm gonna start by talking about the three main types of injury, okay? Because then each one feeds into a different section of this cycle. First one being acute injury. That is our car accidents. That is our sporting injuries. That is our slips and our falls, okay? So when we have that injury, that trickles us all the way down to the bottom here of a tear or a crush injury. Good example, whiplash, okay? We're in a car accident, our head flings forward, it flings back. Not only do we strain the muscles, but we can sprain the ligaments in our neck just like we do when we roll our ankle, okay? So from there, we're in this tear crush, we have inflammation happen, which is a good thing. A lot of people try and take Advil, ibuprofen, NSAIDs right off the bat. Sometimes we need to let inflammation happen. That is how our body heals, it's a natural process. Now there's a good amount of inflammation, a bad amount, and it's a hard area to decipher. It gets a little dicey in there, but we can talk about that later in detail. From there, the inflammation then builds kind of adhesions, fibrosis, scar tissue, knots. There's many different words that we can use inside that box that all hypothetically mean the same. From there, we become weak and or tight, okay? Knowing that these knots form inside the muscle belly. So let's act like a muscle overlaps like so, nice and smooth. It can contract when we need it to, and it can relax when we need it to. Now the knots and adhesions are when something would overlap and it gets a little bound up. We now know that we can't contract, so we lose strength because our muscle cannot contract, and we cannot lengthen on our own. We can't just stretch this out. It doesn't go away like that. After that happens, that builds the friction, pressure, and tension, and then we kind of go round and round. You can see this inner circle is our inflammation cycle, okay? At some point, if that sticks around long enough without being treated, you will bounce out to the outer circle, which is our chronic cycle. That's why after a car accident, we're in like acute pain, and then I often see people 5-10 years removed from their accidents and my neck never was the same. I can understand why. The soft tissue, the muscles, ligaments, and tendons were stretched to a max, they recoiled back after the accident, and they were never addressed. So scar tissue is formed, and you no longer have the ability to contract and relax the way you should on our muscles. So that's our acute injury. Repetitive injury, think of a desk worker. How many keystrokes do you think they make in a given day? I don't know the stat for sure, but we know it's upwards of 10,000 keystrokes, okay? So imagine how many times the muscles inside our fingers, our wrists, our forearms, and our upper arms have to fire just to type throughout the day, okay? So when we are in a repetitive injury, something we do over and over and over again, we bounce over here and we jump straight into weak or tight, okay? Again, we're constantly working away, those muscles are firing. Also think of a pianist, okay? Somebody who's played piano their entire life and all of a sudden down the road, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years after they've been playing, they start to develop forearm pain, maybe carpal tunnel, okay? A few of these syndromes that many of us, tennis elbow, okay? A lot of people are familiar with these big terms. This is the science behind that. They jumped into this weak and tight area. Their friction and pressure built sometimes over years. It doesn't need to be one day. They're in this chronic cycle of decreased circulation and edema and adhesions. This is where soft tissue comes into play though. Before I even go to the next one. When we are in this cycle, the only way to break this cycle up is to return the tissue to the way it was designed to be. And that's what muscle work or myofascial release does, okay? Lastly, we have our constant pressure or tension, and this goes all the way down. Sorry, those colors probably overlap a little bit, but we are in the decreased circulation and edema. You ready for this? After 40 years old, we get out of bed and we say we all start to ache, right? That's because we're like this all day. Here's our constant pressure. Our head's forward, our shoulders are rounded, our back is rounded, and all those muscles just got stretched to the max on the back side. The muscles on the front side can't fire because they're so short. And we walk around like this all day, but we don't know why all of a sudden when we turn 40, our pain got worse. I do. That's because that constant pressure has slowly led to decreased circulation and edema. When we're like this, then all of a sudden our adhesions form. Then we get weak and tight and we can't figure out how to hold our head up, and all of a sudden we get neck pain and numbness and tingling down our arms. So I think you guys can probably see how this all correlates back to three main types of trauma, okay? One being acute, two being repetitive, three being our chronic. A few things will make this system worse. We must remember smoking, okay? Smoking automatically it reduces the amount of oxygen in our body, hypoxia, and that starts us down here right off the bat, even without an injury. Some diabetes, blood pressure, vitamin deficiencies, that all will play into this, and it will slow down the healing process. So this is our cumulative injury cycle. Doing active release technique breaks up the adhesions, the fibrosis. We then retest on the test we did during our exam to find if strength has returned. And then we break the cycle of friction and pressure, and then we increase ultimately how much oxygen and blood flow is going to that tissue. I hope this was beneficial. I know this is kind of a deep topic. There's a lot of motion going on, and we can dive deeper if you have more specific questions to a specific condition. So feel free to comment below, shoot us an email, and we're here to help in any way possible. So I hope everybody's doing well, and we will catch up later.